Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here. Welcome back to another Monster Hunter video, and today I want to do some community Q&A. If you guys are not part of the Arekkz Gaming Discord, you're missing out. It's a great place to be. We've got so many channels for so many different games, loads of cool people there. We're all there, myself, TwoSixNine, Paradise Central, Vestmore, hanging out, give it a chance to kind of, chat to some of you guys, just sort of answer questions and whatnot. And relevant to that, I set up a specific Monster Hunter questions channel. So if you guys have got questions you want to ask me, then you can do so there. Obviously, I try and reply to the comments whenever I can, but comments just tend to get quite flooded, so the Discord is a good place to be. So what I've done is I've gone through the questions channel and I've picked out around 20 questions, actually 19 to be specific, but around 20 questions that I'm going to answer, speaking about different things Monster Hunter related. Of course, I haven't got to all of them, so if you guys do enjoy this format and you want to see more Monster Hunter Q&A, then A, join the Discord and post your own questions, and B, I can of course also pick up some of those ones that I might have missed. But let's start off at the top. The very first question comes from Loaded Dice. He says, for someone new to Monster Hunter World, what are your thoughts on the Defender line of items? Better to avoid them and get good, or lean into them and skip the base game grind? Now, honestly, for this one, it really depends on what you want to get out of Monster Hunter. Yes, Monster Hunter is all about understanding and learning the monsters, so if you do have a gear set that allows you to basically just take hits and not really worry, you're obviously not learning the game. That being said, I'm also a big proponent of playing games however you want to play them. If you just want to skip past because maybe your friends have convinced you to get Iceborne and you don't necessarily fancy sitting through like a hefty long grind, you want to get caught up quickly, that's fair enough. Just keep in mind, part of the Monster Hunter experience is learning how to fight the monsters, learning their move patterns, getting defeated so you can get better. So just keep in mind, I'm not going to sort of turn around and say, hey, you're cheating yourself. But at the same time, I do still think you want to learn the game, and Base World is a fantastic game. I mean, all of Monster Hunter is awesome. Like, yes, obviously if you're trying to catch up with your friends, maybe that's one thing, but just enjoy the game. Play it. There's no rush, especially right now. We've got all the time in the world. The next question comes from DD201X or 21X. He says, would you do a hard carry for people who struggle with certain quests like he taketh it with his eyes? Short answer, no. Because I think everybody should learn Monster Hunter. I'm always down to help people. Obviously, if we're streaming, we've done this before. We've done plenty of Monster Hunter streams where if you're struggling with a quest, we can jump in with you. But I'm not a big believer in hard carries, because what do you really get by that? If you jump in a quest and you're like, I'm going to sit at camp and have some coffee while you go and do it for me, what have you learned? The answer is nothing. So anyone that's like, hey man, I'm going to carry you to sit there and let me do the work. No, teach someone how to. That's like, what's that old kind of proverb or saying or phrase? It's like, you can give a man a fish or you can teach him to fish. Like, the fish will last you a day, teach him to fish, he's fishing for life. It's great. So yeah, no hard carries. Crimson Donut asks, by the way, awesome name, really could do with a donut right about now, but Crimson Donut asks, do you think they'll end Monster Hunter World Iceborne with Fatalis being the last new monster update? Now, obviously, Fatalis hasn't been confirmed, been hinted at. Honestly, I think it would be a great way to wrap it up, but either way, however we look at it, whatever they determine or whatever they kind of deem to be the last monster, we know that Iceborne and Monster Hunter World as a saga is coming to the end. They've said that Iceborne is the last expansion. There will not be like a Fireborn or like a, I don't know, Earthborn or something else. They're not going to do another expansion for World. Whatever comes next is going to be a new Monster Hunter, much like they always do their kind of typical cycle. You have the base game, you have the second game, and then you start all over again. And with the console, the new console generation around the corner, it's safe to say that, Monster Hunter is now Capcom's biggest selling IP. There's obviously more of it, but yeah, either way, whatever they determine or whatever they deem to be the final monster, I think, we're getting close to the end of the life cycle. I think Fatalis would be a great way to end it because of how significant that monster is. Just being able to have that as the last thing and be like, this is your final challenge. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Hustleberg says, what is your favorite game and why is it Monster Hunter? Haha, I see you answered the question for me. In truth, it's not actually Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is second. What? Shock horror. I know. Zelda is first. Monster Hunter is second. But I love them both. They are fantastic games. Honestly, thousands of hours of enjoyment in both those series. And the fact that they've both crossed over in different ways. We've had Zelda quests in Monster Hunter. My worlds unite. So Monster Hunter brings me so much joy. A question from Toast says, what is your favorite piece of Monster Hunter lore? And if you could have a game set in the Monster Hunter universe but wasn't about being a hunter, what would you like to see? Now, that's kind of technically two questions. Bit of Monster Hunter lore. Honestly, I'm not too glued up on like all the lore, partly because it's actually quite hard to get a hold of a lot of the Monster Hunter lore in the UK. There's like a lot of books in Japan that have so much monster lore, but they've never really gone and translated them. So it's quite hard to actually get all of that stuff reliably. There is that interesting story. I don't know the exact specifics, but there's the interesting story about why squads, hunting teams. I'm mixing my games here. Why squads are 4 hunters, because I believe there was a story, I think, someone in the comments correct me if I've got this slightly wrong, but I think the story went something along the lines of there was like a hunting team that went out as 5 before, and then one of them got killed, whether it was like a wife or someone like significantly related, and then as a result of that, they then vowed never to go on a hunt with more than 4. I think that's how it went, something along the lines of it. Basically, that kind of essence of why we can only hunt as 4 people together is quite interesting. But yeah, outside of that, like there's a lot of kind of things that, are said and whatever, but honestly, I wish Capcom would just bring those books to the West, because there's so much stuff that I want to know, but my Japanese right now is not proficient enough to be able to translate those books. Staple says, do you think it's likely that Valstrax will ever come to World, or do you think it'll be a later game? Honestly, I don't think it'll come to World. When you think about the life cycle of the game, when you think about kind of the, potential future updates left, as much as I love Valstrax, I feel like it's a little bit out there, and I feel like it's not necessarily one of the ones that they would put into Iceborne. I would love to be proven wrong. I love the armor for that, and I love the fact that the quest name for that had a Gurren Lagann reference, because it was something about like piercing the sky, piercing the heavens. Really cool, but nah, I don't think we're gonna get it. The Gitzor says, if they're going to add a new weapon to Monster Hunter, what would you like it to be? I've actually spoken about this in a previous video, but let's go with this anyway. I want fist weapons, not like Tonfa's. Imagine 2 giant gauntlets, right? And they do impact damage, and you literally run up to the face. And I want it to be kind of like a medium speed weapon. I don't want it to be super fast. I also don't want it to be greatsword slow, but I want it to be one of those like meaty, powerful, you have to think about your hits, and you actually kind of go up more to like a monster, like a boxer, and you can charge up punches, smack them in the face. Like imagine actually getting a KO where you literally charge up a punch and you go BAM! And the monster just gets knocked out. That would be so cool. And you could think about all the different crazy gauntlets, because in Monster Hunter history, we've had a couple of gauntlets just for like dual blade designs, like Gormagala and the Rajan gauntlet. So having that for like every monster, you could kind of picture some of the designs having like monster heads and bones all over your arms for gauntlets. That would just be so cool. So yeah, I just want a brute force. And also, if you're gonna have that, by the way, I'd also let it have the guarding ability. So you could actually sit there and just like have you guard up. So I mean, basically, I want to be a boxer, right? I want to be a boxer, and I want to have that in Monster Hunter. But because keep in mind, if you had that, you could have perfect guard as well. So you could just block up, get your perfect guard, get your damage boost, and then be like BAM! So yeah, boxing gloves, gauntlets, that's what I want. Let me punch a monster and knock him out. SpongeBob says, if they're going to add a new monster to the game, what would you like it to be? Honestly, I really want them to kind of branch out of the kind of safety zone of like the wyverns and the fanged beasts. I would love to see, I've always wanted to see a tortoise style monster. I know technically speaking Frontier had one, I forgot the name. There was this giant red creature with like this huge spiky back that was basically a tortoise or a turtle. I always get them mixed up. But I would love to have like a monster like that, where it's got like a super hard shell, probably like parts of it where you can't really fight it, like you bounce off the shell, and then obviously the arms would come out, the head would come out. You then kind of fight that, and then I could sort of picture the armor just being like this really heavily armored like shell design. So something like a tortoise would be cool, and I'd love to see more stuff in like the insect route. Like I also miss the crabs. Basically, all those kind of monster styles we had before, I'd love to see them do more with that, because wyverns are cool, fang beasts are cool. We've had so many of them. I just really want some variety. What is your favorite monster in the series and why? That would have to go to Laggy Acresxx, just because I mean, it looks awesome. I'll admit, the first time I fought it, it wasn't necessarily my favourite at the time, because the first time you fight Laggy, it's underwater. And I don't particularly like underwater combat. I mean, if they brought it back, I'm not going to complain. Like, more content, new stuff is always cool, but I've never really been in any video game. Name me a video game where underwater works. And be honest with yourself. I don't just mean like, it's alright. Like, tell me a game where being underwater was a good experience. Oh, wait. I'm pretty sure. Like, if you've named one, then I'll accept I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure most of my underwater experiences in video games has not been great. But Laggy Acresxx has incredible armor. I've always loved the armor set for it. I remember it was like farming Ivory Laggy was one of my peak Monster Hunter experiences, because I got so screwed by RNG. I kid you not, I fought 31 Ivory Laggy Acresx's or Ivory Laggy Acrai back to back. and all I wanted was a plate. A plate's not even that rare in the grand scheme of things. It took me 31 hunts back to back to get a plate to drop so I could complete the armor. And then I finally got it. But yeah, I loved it. I love the look of the armor. I love the fight. Even when they put it on land, I know it's a bit of a pushover on land, but it's still kind of cool. It's just this really cool Leviathan with like the electric over it. Like whether you fight regular, abyssal, or ivory, they are all fantastic. Vortex3055 says, do you want Capcom to add more returning monsters or more new monsters? And simply new monsters. Like I appreciate, everyone has their favorite monsters. Everyone's like, I loved fighting this. I mean, I was just speaking about Acresxx. Like if they brought that back, I'll go completely back on that and say bring that to World. But honestly, because I've played so many Monster Hunter games, like I've played every single Monster Hunter game since Freedom Second, and I've seen a lot of returning monsters. So I've fought Rathalos and Zenogre and like Rathian and like all these different things like T-Rex like so many times. I love them, but I would always rather new monsters, new content, things we've never seen before, things that nobody's seen before, than returning stuff. Another question from Toast. You snuck in 3 in this video, but I like this one. What do you think tastes better, Demon Drug or Armor Skin? Honestly, I say Demon Drug. I feel like Demon Drug would taste kind of sweet. Like one of those things that's probably not good for you, but like, I don't know, like a fizzy drink or even like cranberry juice. But I feel like Armor Skin would taste like carrot juice or spinach juice or just one of those like health food drinks that's really good for you, but you just don't really want to drink it. So yeah, Demon Drug. Apex of them all says, do you think Valfazak was actually a good Elder Dragon? Interesting question. I liked it. It was annoying, not gonna lie. The very first time you fought it, the very first time we were introduced to the concept of like Effluvia, that was annoying as hell. When your health is constantly ticking down and you take a Nullberry, your health goes back up and then it goes back down again. So annoying. But as designs go, it was a really cool design. Really cool monster. Like the way that it looks with all kind of the skin hanging over it, I do like it visually. I like it kind of mechanically once you kind of get used to the Effluvia stuff. And I love the armor. The fact that it has that regeneration purpose. Like I use Valfazak armor so much because I kind of, have those like vampire sets that regen your health. So as a kind of holistic experience, yes, I like Valfazak. Is it my favorite Elder Dragon? Definitely not. But I do think it was a cool monster. Acresxx says, if you had a chance to create a new biome, what would it be? That's an interesting one because I always like snowy environments. So the fact that we have snow, I am already like really happy about. So I think what would be quite cool would be in say Freedom Second or like Freedom Unite. There was like one of those ones where you climb, say, the tower more so, and one of those environments where it's more so like kind of ruins, like a sort of ancient structure, something like that was kind of around like many years ago. Something that's less like foresty and deserty and just more so maybe human built. So yeah, I'd actually quite like to see like World's take on like a tower that you could then climb and then sort of, battle things along the way. So I know it's not exactly a biome specifically, but that's kind of what I'd like to see them do. This one's a good question. mlam says, when you're making a video for any subject, whether it be a new monster, armor, info, event, how many times do you cart during the grind? And can we get a blooper reel of you and your team's fails? So it kind of depends on the video. If I'm just doing a quick like news update, then I just jump in and I fight whatever. And then generally speaking, there's no carts. It's just a quick hunt, just kind of giving you something to watch while I speak about some news. If I'm doing something very specific, like if I'm doing a weapon tutorial, if I'm doing a monster guide, there's normally quite a lot of carts because I'm trying to get very specific footage. Like if you imagine I'm doing a video and I'm talking about Teostra and I say, hey, the supernova's really damaging and you don't want to get caught by this, I need to get caught by it to show why you don't want to get caught by it. So there'll be times like that. Or it might be like, I really need to show Teostra doing a very specific move. And you can tell, like, typical RNG, like, when you want a monster to do something, it's not going to do it. But when you don't want it to do it, it'll do it all the damn time. So there'll be times when I'm waiting for, like, a very specific move. Like, when I was doing the Rajan guide, I was waiting for it to do, like, the double slam. And it just kept on doing the wrong moves. But obviously I didn't want to attack it too much because didn't want to kill it. So I'm kind of just sort of sitting there waiting for a little bit. Sometimes I had to like take some hits. So yeah, there's definitely, when you're getting very bespoke footage and things that you're specifically trying to showcase, there's definitely quite a lot of carts. But again, that doesn't really matter because, if it illustrates the purpose and it shows what you need to do, then you get that. So I guess I would say they're not always like legitimate carts. It's more so because I'm not really playing properly to get that bespoke footage. But yeah, there's a lot. I don't actually have all the bloopers because I record so much footage. I have to just delete footage half the time. I've got a hard drive of archived footage, but it's just definitely it's running out of space. Alright, I realise we're getting slightly longer on the video, so let me try and blitz through the last few. Wing says, do you think they will release a new Monster Hunter game in the future, or will there just be other DLCs like Iceborne? I kind of touched on this earlier. They've obviously said that this is the end of the World Saga. I do think there will be more Monster Hunter games. I mean, Monster Hunter is now their biggest selling IP. That would basically be like turning around to a business and saying, hey, do you want to make more money? And they'll be like, yes. So yeah, Monster Hunter is definitely going to carry on. We've got the next generation of consoles around the corner. We've got Switch. I'm sure there's lots of potential options for there. So yes, I definitely think there'll be new Monster Hunters, but I don't think there will be any more DLCs for Iceborne. G says, did you decorate your room? No. I mean, kind of. I did like a few things, but I just never go in there. Like, because it's just a weird out-of-the-way place, I just never spend my time there. So I put an armor set on display. I think I put a model out, but outside of that, I didn't really do too much. Gun Special says, do you ever think there'll be crossplay in the game since PC and consoles are now synced? Honestly, I don't, just because the game is coming to the end of its life cycle. Like, I mean, I'm not a developer, but I would imagine that something like crossplay is an infrastructure level change, like, from the ground up. So to add that late into the life cycle would, in my mind, be quite a difficult thing. Honestly, I feel like it's the same thing that, like, maybe they would do for like the next Monster Hunter, but I don't see them just being like, hey, by the way, the last thing we're doing is adding crossplay. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I just don't see it happening. And then last one from Cypher Shadow says, on a scale of 1 to Great Jaggy, how much do you love Laggy? I mean, it's my favourite monster, but I don't know how to respond to that. Is if 1 is the lowest and Great Jaggy is number 10, then Great Jaggy? Like many Great Jaggies? 100 Great Jaggies? The greatest of Jaggies? Something like that. Anyway, there you go. That's it. That's some Monster Hunter Q&A. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you did, again, don't forget to tune in, jump over to the Discord, post your questions there. There's a special Monster Hunter questions thread, MHQ. You can post some more questions there. I'll pick up some of the ones that I missed if you guys enjoyed this format. And maybe we can do this on a semi-regular basis. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there. If you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with, it's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.